Welcome to News You Missed.
Hello everybody and welcome back. Well, guess what? We've got all sorts of stories going on. We've got presidents defending attacks on drug dealers. We've got other presidents kicking off over Tomahawk missiles. We've also got people getting stuck up a mountain. But more about that in a bit. Let's dive into the news. Drew, what's your first story?
Well, my first story of the day is protesters attempted to storm the presidential palace in Tbilisi. The Prime Minister accused them of seeking to topple the government and blamed the EU for interference. Clashes will likely spread and security will tighten. Georgia's political system is under serious stress.
Well, my first story of the day. US President Donald Trump has defended recent military strikes on Venezuelan boats, calling them an act of kindness. He said the operation, which destroyed at least 4 suspected cartel vessels, was aimed at stopping deadly drugs from entering the United States. Speaking at the Navy's 250th anniversary in Virginia, Trump praised the military for blowing cartel terrorists out of the water, claiming the action would save thousands of American lives. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, has condemned the strikes, denying his government's involvement in drug trafficking and accusing Washington of using the issue as a pretext for regime change. Well, I'm sorry, but why should you have to defend your actions of blowing up cartel drug smuggling boats? You shouldn't have to. And anyone who's protecting them is obviously on the side of drugs.
Absolutely, and that follows to the next story that Hamas delegates arrived in Egypt for negotiations on a possible ceasefire and hostage swap. Israeli strikes, however, have continued. Any agreement will remain fragile. The delicate balance between diplomacy and warfare hangs by a thread.
My next story, and who would have thought this one would be happening? Syria has held its first parliamentary elections since the fall of Bashar al-Assad's government. Local committees selected representatives to a new transitional parliament, with 140 members elected and another 70 to be appointed by interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa. More than 1,500 candidates, including 200 women, took part in the vote, though areas outside government control were excluded. The new parliament will serve for 30 months under a temporary constitution until a permanent one is adopted. President al-Sharaa praised US sanctions relief as a step towards stability and recovery in the war-torn nation.
Next up, President Trump called Putin's offer to limit nuclear weapons a good idea. Could open the door to renewed arms control discussions, a notable shift if both sides act responsibly.
And I've got a really good bit of news, Drew. The UN-backed Net Zero Banking Alliance, launched by Mark Carney in 2021 to help banks reach net zero emissions by 2050, has voted to shut down. The alliance, which once included top global banks like Canada's Big Six, will end operations immediately, though its climate guidance will remain available as a reference. Political pressure and the departure of major US and Canadian banks, including RBC, TD and BMO, contributed to the decision. The move marks the closure of an initiative aimed at coordinating climate action across the banking sector. Oh, thank God this agenda's collapsing, Drew.
Well, let's stick on the good news strain then. The world's longest rail tunnel has been completed. Engineers achieved the breakthrough for the Brenner Base tunnel beneath the Alps.
Well, my next story, Drew. Hundreds of trekkers have been rescued after being stranded by a sudden blizzard near Mount Everest on the Tibetan side. Around 350 people have already reached the township of Kwangdang, while more than 200 others remain in contact with rescuers and are being brought down in stages. The severe weather struck during October's peak climbing season, catching many off guard and putting lives at risk from hypothermia. Local villagers and rescue teams worked tirelessly to clear snow and guide the stranded climbers to safety. Do you know what? Climbing a mountain for giggles I don't know, it just doesn't fill me with much joy, in all honesty, than getting stuck there and potentially frozen to death.
Yeah, rather you than me. Next up, Sean Diddy Coombs is sentenced. Coombs was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison, plus a fine of $500,000. His legal team will appeal.
Do you know what? Considering how much he was getting charged with, doesn't seem he's gone away for very long, does it really?
No, not long enough.
Wow, 17 people have been injured after a gunman opened fire from his apartment window onto a busy shopping street in Sydney, Australia. Police say the 60-year-old suspect fired between 50 and 100 rounds from a high-caliber rifle, hitting people, cars and nearby buildings. After a tense 2-hour standoff, officers entered the building and arrested the man, recovering his weapon. Authorities say the motive remains unclear. Police described the attack as unprecedented for Sydney and said it was fortunate that there were no fatalities, given the scale of the shooting.
God, thank God no one was hurt.
Yeah. Up to 100 rounds of high caliber ammunition. Done well there not to kill anybody. Maybe it was a call for attention. Who knows?
Next up, the White House warned of impending layoffs if budget talks stall. Pressure on Congress will intensify. Worker livelihoods hang in the balance of political standoffs.
My next story, Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that if the US supplies Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles, it would destroy relations between Moscow and Washington. The missiles, which can reach up to 2,500 kilometers, could potentially strike deep into Russia. Putin said such a move would erase recent signs of progress between the two nations and insisted Ukraine couldn't operate the weapons without direct US involvement. He added that even if delivered, the missiles wouldn't change the battlefield balance, citing how Russia's defences adapted to previous Western arms.
Next up, Aubrey O'Day speaks out and urged young artists to trust their instincts following Diddy's sentencing. The entertainment industry will see renewed scrutiny over power dynamics, a significant moment of reckoning and voice for those historically silenced.
And my last story of the day, and this one hits my heart quite heavy. Britain's National Health Service, once the pride of the nation, is now in crisis with overcrowded hospitals, long waiting lists and overworked staff. Experts blame years of underfunding and rising demand, while public satisfaction has fallen sharply. Despite the challenges, the core NHS ideal free healthcare for all remains deeply valued. Leaders are promising reforms, including digital upgrades. But many warn that without proper investment, the service that defines British society could be irreparably damaged. Drew, you and I both know that the NHS is wonderful. It is wonderful. I tip my hat to everybody who works in there. But we also know it has been gutted by the whole privatisation part of this. Yeah. They've taken anything that was profitable, could be deemed profitable, got rid of it. They've left the NHS bloated with just things that are not financially great. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be funded. And we all know the government has not been putting enough money into the NHS for years. It does wonderful work.
Yeah, absolutely. And staying on the UK train, the UK announced new legislation allowing police to restrict repeat protests. Legal challenges and civil liberties debates will follow, a delicate tug of war between security and the right to protest. They're going to try and stop us, aren't they? I think after Tommy Robinson, they saw there's millions and millions of us now standing up. So they're trying to obviously weaken us now to not do that.
100%, Drew. 100%. This is all on the back of, because that Tommy Robinson march had well over 1 million people. Now, just think, they're not going to be able to police that next time, because I spoke to at least 6 people that I know who said they were umming and ahhing about going, didn't go. They said 100% they are going to the next one. So that there's going to be 5 times the amount of people because it was peaceful. There was no trouble. 25 people got arrested. Look at all the other protests that happened.
Yeah.
Trust me, this is nothing. There's no trouble compared to those. And I can tell you now, when the people speak, the government shakes.
And the next one will be on October the 18th, won't it? And moving on to Canada, Canada's PM Mark Carney will visit Washington to discuss trade and tariffs issues with President Trump. This meeting could shift Canada-US relations. And staying in Canada, recent wildfire season forced displacement and exposed gaps in infrastructure among Indigenous communities. Calls for greater investment and structural reform will grow louder, a harsh reminder of inequality in disaster readiness.
And now, everybody, we're going to head over to Drew's Financial Funnies. Get ready to be entertained, informed, and find out all the craziness that's going on out there in the financial world.
Thanks, Paul. Well, starting off, Bitcoin smashed past $125,000, pushing its market cap above $2.5 trillion. The outlook, strong momentum from institutional flows, bigger than many countries and steadier than some leaders. Moving on, Ethereum is closing in on its all-time high, aided by ETF inflows. A breakout is increasingly likely. ETH is that friend who claims to be broke but never skips brunch. XRP bounced above $3 after a big leveraged position flush. The outlook, forecasts point to 30 to 40% gains in resistance breaks. XRP is back. Bulls might finally get their run. And gold surged to record highs towards $4,000. Safe haven demand will stay high. Even Grandma's necklace is outperforming Wall Street. Silver continues its climb amid tight supply conditions. Industrial and investor demand push upward. The other metal finally grabs its spotlight.
Drew, that's a good one, because what I'm reading everywhere about silver is that they can't sell, because obviously it works on the futures market. That's how they manipulate the price. They sell silver they haven't got yet. Problem is, they've sold so much of it now that people are going, well, where's my silver? And they're going, we might not have it. And that's driving the price up. They can't manipulate it like they once did. It's fantastic.
And finally, US indexes hit records high, propelled by tech and trade optimism. Bull momentum remains strong. Investors cheer while Washington stalls. And oil climbed after OPEC Plus announced a modest November output hike of 137,000 barrels a day. Limited supply adds upward pressure. OPEC's small sip keeps the market thirsty.
Considering all the global agenda muppets, dare I say, are like, we've got to get rid of oil. Oil seems stronger than ever. It's not going anywhere, is it?
We're going to see all commodities, all precious metals, I think, just keep rising at this point. And hopefully, crypto will do the same.
Well, I'm very excited by that as well. Well, everybody, that was the news you missed on Monday, the 6th of October, 2025. Where's this month going? I don't know, but it's looking good in the world of precious metals, that's for sure. So all that's left for me to say is to take care, God bless, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.